You are in a fight with your vagina.
Earlier tonight in hair and makeup, I asked them, could you draw a fake beard on me? And they said yes.
And I went crazy, according to the press. I want more money before I die.
Son is an unwelcome guest on Christmas.
And C3PO was an absolute idiot about trees.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited today to talk about Connor Ratliff and the idiot C3PO who doesn't know things about trees. What about you, Forrest, keeper of the Canon?
I am very excited, Emily Pineapple. I'm so excited.
This is an exciting episode. It's always exciting when someone from the TCGS days is hosting a CGP episode, primarily because we've seen them so much more. Like, we feel like we know them.
Yeah, there's a lot more history there for us.
I feel like we're rooting for a friend.
Exactly, especially when they're in the chat, as much as Connor has been these past few days.
And especially when they do a show, which I described as very much like being in Forrest's brain in an unsettling way.
That would be the George Lucas talk show, which we'll get into.
Oh my fucking God. But today we're talking about Connor Ratliff, prodigious artist. Done so many things, has so many interesting thoughts about art, about theater. And obviously, having described one of his shows as like being inside of Forrest's brain, I appreciate the way that he communicates things.
I also appreciate it because it's like being in my brain.
And as a person who has chosen to be adjacent to your brain, I clearly enjoy it as well. So Connor's episode is going to be 207 Talk-A-Doodle-Doo, airing October 16th, 2019 at 8 p.m. California time, 11 p.m. Eastern time.
And some of the cast members have been announced on social media, so this is not a complete list of who you'll see on Talk-A-Doodle-Doo, but some of them will include Sebastian Connolly, who performs with the UCB teams, The Law Firm, and The Friday Night Show, and also co-hosts the podcast Who You Were with Patrick Noth.
Oh, hey!
And it was that podcast that inspired Talk-A-Doodle-Doo, because Sebastian was confused about Cock-A-Doodle-Doo, and Connor on the CGP podcast said that inspired Talk-A-Doodle-Doo. He was also part of the Terry Withers Mysteries, which we'll get into more later as well.
The other person is Ben Warheat?
Warheat? I'm not actually sure. Apologies, Ben.
Writes for the Late Night with Seth Meyers, and was in the Joker movie, question mark? Who was he in the Joker movie?
He threw popcorn. At someone. His character was Wall Street 3.
Well.
You've seen Joker.
Oh no! Was he one of the persons who died?
I don't know. I haven't seen Joker.
Spoilers for Joker. People die in Joker. I'm going to be looking this up because I watched Joker because it's my kind of nonsense. Not for everybody. And I don't know. It's my kind of nonsense. Nonsense being the operative term. And I really want to know who he was in Joker because...
Okay, so this is a photo of him in Joker.
Oh my God! Oh my God, he's so pivotal, friends. I'm not going to spoilers for Joker. Can I spoilers for Joker? This is not a Joker cast. This is not a Joker cast. I'm going to contain myself and tell everyone that he had a really excellent performance.
Yes. I'll take your word for that since I have not seen.
Yeah, someone's knocking on our ceiling.
Somewhere.
If you can hear that through the microphone, but that's what we're reacting to. The knocking on the ceiling from our upstairs neighbor or the comedians that we captured and are trapping above us. Because for some reason we trapped them above the basement rather than putting them in the basement.
But Ben was also a part of the web series Bloveband is Doing Just Fine, which follows David Bloveband, the erstwhile human fish.
Erstwhile.
And that one was announced on Connor's Instagram.
We also have Wahoo Skiffle Crazies, On their Facebook page, they describe themselves as balancing relevancy with absurdity. Wahoo's Skiffle Crazies offers postmodern time-traveling, gonzo folk traditional jug band tunes, ragtime protest songs, blues, and originals influenced by the 60s folk revival and Depression-era America, both. Oh my God, why have I not heard of these people before this moment?
That was my question as well. And they'll be the house band and musical guest on Talk-A-Doodle-Doo, and they sound perfect for it.
Oh my God, they sound perfect for everything.
Also that.
Connor's bio, which we pulled off of the UCB website.
Yes.
Connor Ratliff can be seen every Friday night performing with The Stepfathers, which has Shannon O'Neill in it.
Yes, it does. And once had Gethard.
And every Sunday night performing in UCBT's longest running show, ASCAT 3000. He is the creator of the George Lucas Talk Show, where real guests are interviewed by him while he pretends to be George Lucas. Ha! We all know that he is actually George Lucas pretending to be a New York actor so that he can live his art dreams. He was the warm-up comedian for the Chris Gethard Show on True TV, as well as a frequent contributor to the MNN version, where he launched his 2012 presidential campaign and for which he co-created a series of experimental animated shorts with award-winning artist Maël Delavu, called The Lone Cornmeal Machine.
He is also the co-star and co-creator of the web series I'm Too Fragile for This with Catherine Moudon, and co-starred in the IFC web series Bottled and the current Comedy Central web series Dollar Store Therapist. TV credits include The Marvelous Ms. Maisel,
on which he was amazing.
Orange is the New Black,
on which he was amazing.
Search Party,
I didn't see that one.
The President Show,
Also didn't see that one.
Debate Wars,
Also didn't see that one.
The Characters,
Also, I'm going to stop saying
Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Broad City, Veep, and hosting an episode of Season 2 of the UCB show on Starz. He did that as George Lucas. And then feature films include Mike Birbiglia's Don't Think Twice, Netflix teen thriller Coin Heist, and The Discovery, as well as the upcoming Standing Up, Falling Down with Billy Crystal and Ben Schwartz.
He has also appeared on This American Life and Comedy Bang Bang podcasts. You can hear Connor as the co-host of the podcast 12-Hour Day with JD and Connor, which is a 12-hour-long podcast where every episode consists of an uncut and unedited 12-hour conversation between himself and JD Amato. Thanks, UCB, for doing our job for us.
I mean, I feel like Connor probably submitted this.
Likely. The Spirit of Ratliff, his album of secular Christmas songs, or Xmas songs, and anti-summer anthems. I almost read that as anti-Semitic.
Okay, Robbie Hoffman.
Written with singer-songwriter Mikey Erg, is available as a limited edition 12-inch secular red vinyl LP from State Champion Records. One time he got stuck on a train and Huffington Post and NBC News speculated that he had lost his mind. Google it. It is a real news story. That's in his bio. The Google it. This is a real news story is how he ends his bio, which is the perfect way for Connor to end it. We have some additional info about him as well. I think the most interesting is that his dad performed with Del Close.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy.
It's amazing. That means the Ratliffs were basically there from some of the earliest days of improv.
Yeah, absolutely. It was when Del Close was like not as excited about Second City.
Right, yeah.
Because he's like, oh, they've gotten too intellectual. I'm miming chain smoking right now. They've gotten too intellectual, and now I'm miming taking some acid. Now I'm miming doing some. I don't know how to do a lot of the drugs. So I'm going to stop.
That's fair. On one of the podcasts we listened to, Connor said that he knows that a lot of other improvisers sort of have this situation where their parents are like, I just don't understand what you're doing here with this improv thing. Whereas his experience was his parents being like, you should really give improv a try. We think you'd be really good at it. And him being like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then eventually finding his way there. And obviously they were correct.
He has the air of a man whose parents are proud of him.
Yeah, I loved that.
Like, I want that. Not that my
It's pretty
parents
nice.
aren't proud of me, but they have no idea what, like, my mom does not know what the fuck I want to do. She's like, I don't understand this comedy stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even like comedy. She said that to me.
Whoa. Doesn't like comedy.
It's because she hasn't seen good comedy.
Oh, well, that'll do it. One thing you should also check out, this is sort of a bonus pick, is listen to episode 3 of the Real CGP podcast, because Connor and Ike, who is the meats guy, go back and forth doing line readings of the lyric from a Master P song, "Let me hear you say, nah, nah, nah." And they just, it's electric. They go back and forth and trade it with intensity, and so definitely check that out.
His frequent collaborators, which I think we should just read off because most of you should know who these people are by now. We got Chris Gethard. We got J.D. Amato. We got Griffin Newman. He plays Watto on the George Lucas talk show. And if you've only seen him on The Tick, like, you have no idea how brilliant this man is.
You should also check out Saddlebee Nate Hive if you haven't seen that episode of the Chris Gethard show. It was the Horse and Bee SNL parody, and he was the celebrity host.
I forgot about that episode. We got Keith Haskell and Rob Malone. They make all of the videos that Connor has made, all the docs and stuff. It's the Keith Haskell, Rob Malone team.
Yes.
Production dream team, which I don't know why it doesn't include Love Band, but I'm not going to speculate.
Patrick Kottner. Was the booker for TCGS.
Sebastian Connolly. And
also Kottner books and produces the George Lucas talk show as well.
Was Patrick Kottner the person who found our podcast?
Yeah.
Like a week into us publishing the podcast, which caused only extreme anxiety.
Yeah.
In the
Kottner.
Two of us. Go Kottner. Kottner's cool.
I think it was Kottner.
It
was Kottner or Bryson?
No, because it
was Kottner.
Yeah.
It was Kottner.
Because you're like, this guy's a big deal. And I'm like, I don't understand anything in my life.
Because Kottner and P. Diddy were the two people who booked the Chris Gethard show.
P. Diddy?
Yeah. After he appeared, he got the booker title. And Kottner did all the booking still.
That's funny. Sebastian Connolly, of course, from the Who You Were podcast. Catherine Mudson. Mudden. I don't know why I put an S in there because I think I said co-stars. She's from I'm Too Fragile for This.
Yes.
She was also on a TCGS episode.
Yeah.
And Maël Dolavu, of course.
Who also co-created the pizza music video that's in the spirit of Ratliff.
So now we're going to talk about 15 things that we love. And if you thought, like, wow, they went on a bit in the beginning with the people that Connor works with and all of these supplemental information. Oh, buckle up, friends.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, buckle yourselves in. You thought, wow, when they had 2 hosts, like, they really thought they were going to have to go on. I read these notes, and before we started, I was just like, Forrest, do you need to sit with these notes and take down these notes? Because there's so many fucking notes.
No, it was true. I basically went beat for beat through the entire George Lucas talk show that we watched, and that was not necessary.
And that was while you were commenting on me.
Let's talk more about that when we get to it.
Okay. So the first thing that we love is his run for the presidency in 2012.
35 Ratliff 2012.
He had this is a character.
Yeah, this is an ongoing character that he did on TCGS and then in a bunch of other outlets as well. He had a campaign store where you could buy things.
I apologize for clearing my throat a lot during this episode, but I think that it'll be nicer than hearing me with a stuffed throat.
He ran on a simple platform. He's 35 years old, and that is old enough to be president. And
it's the number that the founding fathers put in the Constitution.
The only age.
They didn't put other ages. They put 35.
And so, in addition to all the TCGS appearances, he also did a documentary called Old Enough to Be President, which really follows his campaign from an inside perspective, like the documentary War Room, which followed the Clinton campaign and had like James Carville and George Stephanopoulos. It's like that, but for this, I think, far more monumental and historically significant campaign.
It featured Will Hines, Noah Foreman, Chris Gethard, Langan Kingsley,
who was also in that Love Band series that I mentioned earlier. She was the press
Kingsley
secretary.
Shacklebolt
Exactly.
from
Harry Potter.
Okay.
There's Kevin Hines, who was the rapid response man. Nicole Dressbull, the speechwriter. Random Orlando, who was the head of gay and Latino outreach. And Scott Holmes.
It also has footage from their South by Southwest tour and TCGS appearances. And it was directed by Connor, produced by Noah Foreman, Keith Haskell, and Connor. And Keith was the DP, of course.
I just love it. He so embodies that like out of touch character in it, his presidential candidate, and there's a ruthlessness to his character that emerges in this, where he like creates a fake wedding for two of the members of his staff. One of them is
Gay Orlando.
One of them is Random Orlando, and the other is the press secretary, who is not because Random Orlando is not a citizen, and so
Was this before gay people could get married?
yeah,
What?
this is 2012.
That seems so like. I'm like, wait, didn't that happen in like 2008?
No,
like,
that was,
I feel
like,
like it should
2015.
not have been the teens. But we're here in California.
Yeah, so that happens, and then they orchestrate this whole fake marriage. Like, it's crazy.
It's really crazy.
It's really funny. Definitely check it out. If you love the character and his shorter appearances, it's fun seeing him drawn out and fleshed out more fully.
And I think it's a cool one to start with because a lot of what he does that we really resonated with, and the stuff that's most visible to people who aren't in New York, is his characters.
Yeah.
He does these characters in a really interesting way. They're not just for a show. They're multimedia. They're almost like Martin Urbano's pedophile character, where he has social media accounts for these characters. He goes in as if he is that person, and he wants to make it so that to all appearances, someone Googling this person would find like a real dude who appears to be running for president and believing these things. And he does that with the Olympian and with a couple of other people that we highlight. And I think that that's a really interesting way of approaching stock characters, which is, you know, the oldest thing in theater and improv is you have like your stock characters that appear places and you have assumptions about them. Like, you know, it's the Joker and it's the, you know, the mean landlord and it's the greedy businessman and the nagging wife and the failed politician who has a Twitter account.
Yeah, like
now,
the delusional,
which is so cool.
The delusional, like self-aggrandizing politician is a stock character, but he brings this like uniqueness to that character.
Like that can only have been done in this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it could have only been expressed in this way, in this time. And I don't know. I think it's really cool and really interesting. And if I had my head on straight while he was in the Discord, I would have asked him about it.
I think another reason why those characters work so well is because on another podcast he brought up that He brought up that you need to have sympathy for those characters you create, even if you know they're horrible people, because you are the reason they exist. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't see that like humanity in them, why are you making them, basically? And so I thought that was interesting because like his presidential candidate is not like a horrible person, but the documentary reveals a side to him that's much more... It's like worse.
You wouldn't want him to be president.
No, he should not be president. He's only running because he's 35 years old. But I just love that character. Yeah. And then that character transitions into our second choice, which is when that character runs or tries to join the Olympics.
He's in the Olympics. He's in the Olympics. He can achieve his dreams. Because he's in the Olympics. Yeah, so this is the first version of Connor that you saw, right?
Yeah, this is the first version of Connor that I saw because the campaign was over by the time I started watching TCGS. And I immediately I loved this character. I was obsessed with the idea of this guy running to try to be in the Olympics. And the fact that he was in the Olympics.
He was?
Yeah, he in disguise.
Oh, yeah. He won all
At
of
the very end, every gold medal
Yeah.
was secretly Connor Ratliff in disguise.
Yeah, because he didn't want people to think like, oh, wow, like this hyper-talented athlete who's good at all of the things.
Exactly. And I actually used this as my walkout song in a ping pong tournament that I was in.
He's in the Olympics. He's in the Olympics of ping pong. But yeah, he has a number of YouTube videos as this character, as well as he has social media accounts for this character as well. In one of them, there's like Adam Conover just in the background.
Yeah. No, he's prominent in
he's prominent?
the numbers. He's in the background of Old Enough to Be President in like the final shot.
Yeah, Adam Conover of Lisa Hannah-Walt's boyfriend.
Yes.
Who did Tuca and Birdie and designed BoJack Horseman.
Yes. He plays Connor's nerdy numbers guy in some of the YouTube videos, along with Will Hines and Noah Foreman, who are brought over as his pollsters, even though most Olympians don't have pollsters. And then there's also him competing in the Little Olympics when he's 9. And so
just instantly loses. Oh my God. I felt so much in that moment. Like, oh no, that was me. It was like, I wasn't unfit.
No.
I was like a fine athlete, I guess. But compared to like every other human, apparently I was just bad at it.
Yeah, that was all. I also related to that video because like at school, I was always one of the kids who was playing basketball every day and I was fine. But I was so much worse than the kids who were good at it.
Yeah.
And so seeing that was just like, oh, it's me. It's me.
It's like all the kids start running on the line and he's instantly like yards behind all of them. And he looked like he's running like a normal kid. Like, you know, he looks fit. Looks like he should be able to run.
I just have like such a soft spot for this kind of doofus character that is really like truly ultimately harmless, but just thinks they're so much better than they are. And I love how often he plays with that sort of a persona. Because it even is in his George Lucas a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's a definite line from those presidential candidates to the Lucas persona.
That's really interesting. Our third thing that we wanted to highlight was the Dead Eyes podcast.
Which apparently has news coming soon.
I'm so excited. This is his podcast that he is producing. It is his quest to discover why he got fired by Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks himself, America's dad.
Yeah.
From a Band of Brothers role. It's a really like famous story of Connor's.
Yeah.
That he tells a lot. But it was this that made me, when you're like, oh, he was on This American Life. I'm like, of course he was on This American Life.
Oh, is it this story?
I should have known. No, I have no idea. But you just listen to him talk. You listen to him tell a story on a podcast and you're like, oh, yes, of course. This is the successor to This American Life. Like, he just has a This American Life thing.
Well, and Ira Glass has been on both the George Lucas talk show and his Way Up Past Your Bedtime, which was another talk show that Connor did where he was a 7-year-old boy hosting a talk show in his bedroom.
That was cute. I think that he should have a coup and take over This American Life.
He should pull a Justin Linville and take over a talk show podcast?
Yes.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
In the pilot of Dead Eyes, he talks to Zach Woods of Silicon Valley, who describes what he looks like. And they're old friends because they're both in The Stepfathers. Darcy Carden, who's from The Good Place.
She plays the Janet. She's Janet, the computer.
Connor recounts the story of his firing to her, and she adds she like punches it up so well. She's so good at that.
Oh, yeah.
And then he teases his long history with John Hamm, who you might know as the wrestler who betrayed Chris Gethard to Vacation Jason and banished him from existence forever on Fusion. It's a really good show. I'm really glad that it seems like it's getting picked up based on what Connor has said, because it's so good and it's such a wonderful story.
And it's such an interesting story too. I think it's it's like Serial in that you're going super deep into one particular event.
Yeah.
But it's such a human event and it's such a nice thing to hear about because it has that like, you know, that depths of embarrassment and despair of like what happened to him. But of course, like, we're listening to him now, and he's fine.
Yeah.
And he's still, like, has done really incredible things that we love to hear about. So it's more comedic in that way. And he knows all of these super funny people that are really good on podcasts.
Yeah, and, like, I think that you hit on a good point there, because, like, if he didn't respond to Tom Hanks with so much generosity,
yeah, that's
it would
also
be
true.
way worse. And he makes a point of saying, I'm not bitter. This isn't like a revenge podcast, because that would be bad.
No.
And I could see a lesser performer taking that story and trying to use it as like I'm getting revenge against this like powerful guy.
Yeah.
But it's way more fun as like isn't this a funny story that happened to me? I'd love to meet Tom Hanks and do a show with Tom Hanks and get to audition for him again. Yeah.
And I think that it also... Like, it wouldn't have even been funny in the, like, pizza at McDonald's way where the host is parodying the cereal style and is clearly playing a parody of someone who wants to get at McDonald's but doesn't. Like, Connor just approaches everything with love and empathy, and it's beautiful. Oh, gosh. And that brings me to the next one for 12-Hour Day podcast where each episode is 12 hours long. And in the one that I listened to, he got to hang out with his baby niece, his sister's daughter, and who went on a swing for the first time.
I didn't finish that one. I really want to get to that part.
My heart just explodes because he's just, whenever he's hanging out with the baby or like talking about the baby, like he is so in the baby's perspective.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, like she needs to be wrapped up more because when you're small and you get cold, it's like, you know, getting cold is like an assault on the senses, but you have no idea what the hell is happening. Like you're a baby. You have no frame of reference for this. And I'm just like, heart explode, like heart grow 5 sizes. And he also, like, part of what he said about being, you have to have sympathy and empathy for the characters that you create because you're the one who created them. So even if they're a terrible person, like, you need to maintain like that empathy for them. That made me think about him talking to JD about how he doesn't want to be a father because he doesn't believe that he could like live with himself.
Because that also came up on
messing up a kid.
Who You Were show too. Yeah.
Which I think is just such a sweet empathetic thing. I'm like, you people like you should be raising humans.
Well, and on the one I listened to, he talked to his parents on the phone while JD was inside doing a show, and he was out in the lobby talking to them on the phone, and it was just so sweet. Yeah. They have such a like caring relationship. It's so wonderful.
Even on Dead Eyes, when he's like, I mean, it wasn't like I lost everything, you know. I have my parents and my sister, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the cutest thing.
Like they were going on a salmon fishing trip. And he was like, I'd like some salmon. And they were like, well, his dad was like, well, you know, you're close to the bottom of the list. You should have gotten into it earlier because I have to get a lot of people salmon. I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
It's so cute. I just want to live vicariously through that family. But yeah, it's a really cool podcast and it's a really cool experiment.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Cinema Verite where it's just like filming things as they happen and getting that real experience because it's completely unedited with like a few exceptions. It's completely just here is the raw footage. Like when they go order food, you hear them ordering food. Yeah. It's like such a cool experiment.
And I think that's something that I really like about him as an artist is that most of the things that he approaches, he does so experimentally. He is doing something. He's pushing the limits of that format. Like 12-Hour Day podcast, a 12-hour just long conversation with someone as a podcast. He knows how to make beautifully produced, like perfect, like packageable podcasts. We've seen it with Dead Eyes. We see it with all sorts of stuff. But then he starts off with like, I wonder what a really long one would be like. And then there's Elysium Watch, which I don't know if we have on this list because it was like very small.
Yeah, we don't have it we have it as like something to mention, but it's not one of our 15.
Yeah. All it is him, like, he Googled, like, how to make a podcast really easily. And what he's doing is just talking to Patrick Kottner because Patrick Kottner saw an Elysium poster at a subway stop and was like, that's crazy. Elysium was out like 6 years ago. And Connor's just like, that's funny. I'm going to make a podcast about your tweets about seeing if that poster is still here every day. Like, it's just gonna be 3 minutes of us, like, bitching at each other. Like, that's crazy. That's, like, what is the limits of this art form?
Right? Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's definitely one of the things I love about Connor's work as well. And I mean, even the characters, the same thing. Like, in 2012,
oh my God,
the idea of this character on a television show having this huge social media presence and reaching out beyond the bounds of it. Like,
going balls in.
He got a member of the cast of Friends to be his VP.
Oh yeah.
Now it was like a guy. It was not one of the main friends. It was Larry Henkin who was on there and was on Breaking Bad also. And then Paul Rudd later said he like watched it but not live, or else he would have rushed to the studio.
Paul Rudd would have.
Right, but you know, it's like he those characters were so boundary pushing then, in ways that I think it's easy to overlook if you were just viewing it from like the modern social media scape, where like social media characters are much more established as a thing.
As someone, this is my question to you, because I was not on social media. I'm still not on social media.
You're not.
I became on social media when I started hanging out with you and you started telling me the things that are on social media. As a human who was on social media in 2012, was there anything like this? Did comedians have personas online?
I think
that they tweeted through and about.
I have to check, because there's one that might be the old enough that I'm not sure. I mean, there were some, not that I knew of, that crossed over with TV shows in that way, but like the Tweet of God already existed.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But ones that were holistic characters that the person is also performing. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, like I don't know anyone of like that specifically. So I think it may be that the unique thing is the synthesis of a character you go out and perform live, as well as on social, as well as on TV. I think that might be where it's the like unique twist on it that Connor brought.
So number 5.
Yes.
Number 5, I like how you put it right in the middle. George Lucas talk show.
I'm so excited for this part.
This is a talk show that George Lucas, aka Connor Ratliff, started hosting in 2014 after Disney tricked him into selling Star Wars to them. Is that you editorializing?
No, that he described it as, George says, Disney tricked me into selling Star Wars to them, and they only gave me $6 million or something like that. Like, and then when the show started, George's sidekick was Jar Jar Binks, as portrayed by Sean Diston, who's the smoke weed son guy, and was part of the Wifflebat gang on TCGS. And then now, as you mentioned earlier, it's Griffin Newman as Watto, that junk dealer from Tatooine.
And so there is an entire show from New York Comic Con 2018.
Yeah, there are other ones as well. And there's one that has Connor O'Malley on it. That was like the
Beast
first,
Masturbator.
It was like the first or second George Lucas talk show. That's also on YouTube.
God is real.
The one we watched.
The Force is real. Okay, sorry.
The one we watched was from New York Comic Con 2018. And the guests were Sonia Manzano, who was on Sesame Street as Maria, Will Butler from Arcade Fire, Travis McElroy from My Brother and Me, and Gray DeLise, who was on Clone Wars and a bunch of other Star Wars video games and is a voice actress.
And do you want to give the beat by a beat?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Takedown of exactly
So the
what
show
happened.
begins. We open with Watto underneath an episode 1 banner that has Anakin, Jar Jar, and Darth Maul in front of the Tatooine skyline.
He uses a Howard the Duck crew jacket that he bought off of eBay for way more than he was planning on spending, which is a really funny thing. But no, this show is actually like being inside of Forrest.
It 100% is. The gag where they gave everyone in the audience a piece of the theatrical trailer for Morning Glories, which was a movie that was a bad robot movie starring Harrison Ford about a morning news show. He was like the anchor getting too old to be a news anchor or something. And then Connor came up with the idea that it's actually a late piece of Star Wars canon because it's Bad Robot, which means JJ was involved. So Harrison Ford is playing a like descendant of a descendant of a descendant of a descendant of Kylo Ren. And I just love it. I love that idea. especially because it was almost canon that humans came from the future of Earth and then got sent back in time to go to the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
Sophia acted with R2 and 3PO in Sesame Street.
And that's when we get the lovely quote that I put in, because
Yes.
apparently R2...
So R2 falls in love with fire hydrants.
And 3PO, like, sees a tree and is like, oh, what's this?
And so...
It's a tree, I suppose.
Yeah, and then it was asked if that's canon, and I immediately started working out where in the Star Wars canon timeline it would fit. My initial thought was it doesn't, because he's gold. But...
And why is it important that he's gold?
Because he's gold, which he only gets a gold covering starting at around the time of the Clone Wars or Revenge of the Sith. And then Attack of the Clones, he's still silver. And so he sees trees on Naboo, at the very least, at the end, at the wedding ceremony of Anakin and Padme. But he's still silver then, which means he saw trees when he's silver. So I was just like, this can't be canon. This doesn't fit. But then I was like, aha, but Bail Organa wiped his mind at the end of Episode 3. So... it could be after Episode 3, after Mind Wipe. Their 3PO knew what trees were and then forgot it when they wiped his mind because for some reason that's a piece they would wipe. And then...
not the languages, just trees.
Yeah, and they give him the same name. So then... but it has to be before Rogue One because he's on Yavin 4 in Rogue One.
Which has a butt ton of trees.
A lot of trees. It's a forest world with temples because it was filmed in South America, so it's very forested. And then there's...
But if you're enjoying all of the random extra bits of information...
So it's between that. It's between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. 3PO and R2-D2 come to Earth, go to Sesame Street. Now, and this is also just off of the clip they showed. If 3PO mentions anything about Luke Skywalker, all bets are off. Because he doesn't know Luke is yet in Rogue One, because he hasn't met Luke yet. So this is preliminarily... it fits in the timeline between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. So between about 18 years before the Battle of Yavin and 0 years before the Battle of Yavin, which is, of course, the battle over the Death Star at the end of the original movie.
So this is both like my everyday learning these things. But it's also just the George Lucas talk show. Like that wasn't
funnier.
Specifically said during that show, but it's not out of place.
Well, that it was canon was raised.
Yes.
The idea if it was. That level of specificity was me rambling on the couch while we were watching it, being like, well, wait, but what if... George also appeared on Sci-Fi Wire's Con After Dark during the 2019 New York Comic Con, and that episode of Con After Dark was hosted by Jordan Carlos, who's a stand-up comedian, and Jackie Jennings.
Woo!
And Jackie was a fixture in the TCGS days, and is in a bunch of Riley's videos that we talked about on Riley's episode. And in this video, George plays with Star Wars Legos and tries to decipher spoilers hidden within the Legos.
I love it. I love it.
I love it. I love this. And I love his take on the George Lucas character.
Yeah.
Because he's... partially because Connor's knowledge of Lucas's filmography is so good that he can pull out the Radioland Murders or Strange Magic. And just this, like, notion of Lucas as this, like, very arrogant, out-of-touch person who has become a improv performer after selling his media empire is just such a fun twist. And the idea that he retained the rights to Watto and Jar Jar and nothing else.
Only the racist ones. Only the racist characters. He didn't mean it at the time.
Not all of them either.
Number 6.
So these are, speaking of racism that hasn't necessarily always aged well, we're talking about old cartoons.
Yeah, so he does these mega threads on Twitter where he watches and comments on like every single Mickey Mouse cartoon, Donald Duck cartoon, and Roadrunner short.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I love this.
These are wonderful.
It's on Instagram too.
Yeah.
You'll just like scroll through and there's like some info, but then it's just like clips from the fucking cartoon, like these old fucking cartoons. And you just get to watch them sitting on the toilet because that's where you use social media, right?
Yes, I thought you meant you get to watch the characters sitting on the toilet. And I'm like, actually, I don't think they put toilet in Disney cartoons.
No, but they do put that one where Donald Duck is trying to look at porn.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of butt gags
Lots of butt
throughout
gags.
this, which Connor keeps a tally of.
And it's
throughout the
so
cartoons.
interesting. He is a media scholar.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, it definitely appeals to that same part of my brain that like loves reading film textbooks, where it's interesting seeing the style of comedy evolve over time as it starts out very vaudeville, and then you get more plots starting to get introduced as they go on, and then there's that like 90s, it starts to get a little weirder, or like I don't know, like you see culture change through how the cartoons change.
And it's super interesting, and it makes sense that he as a performer is so experimental, because he's approaching performance from he's super into history and is an encyclopedic brain.
Yeah.
I don't encyclopedia. You encyclopedia.
Yeah, which is why I like these, because it's someone else encyclopediaing about something that I haven't encyclopedia'd. So it's just like, oh, I get it.
My brain.
Download it all into my brain.
It's growing. Number 7, he was on Marvelous Ms. Maisel, the like breakout freaking amazing show on Amazon Prime. And he plays a character who is in like Marvelous Ms. Maisel is about a lady comedian in the 50s, I think.
I don't know. I put this on here because I know I remember when you watched it, you were like really into his performance.
It was
I
great.
haven't actually seen it.
Yeah, so it's about like this super rich ass Jew camp that adults go to, or like families go to in the Catskills. I don't know what rich people do, but apparently in the 50s, they went to the Catskills for like family camp. And the camps would have like people who work at the camp. And there's a running gag where Maisel's booker, who is the lady who plays Lois on Family Guy.
Alex Borstein.
Oh my God, she's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a running gag where she is walking around the camp with a plunger, and everyone just assumes that she works there. So she can literally walk anywhere in the fucking camp, and everyone just assumes she's an employee. Except for one person. Someone walking around in a jumpsuit, also pretending to be an employee. And that's Connor. And he's been there for years. And he knows her number. And it's great. He gets like multiple lines. And then also like through like a couple episodes, it just like shows him just like eating like 20 hard-boiled eggs. He's just like sitting, and there's a plate, and there's just 20 hard-boiled eggs on the plate in like the mess hall, and he's just like eating them weirdly at Alex Borstein. She's like, I don't want anything to do with you. We are not alike, and we are not friends. Because he's like, like, you're doing the same thing I am. Let's be bros. And she's like, you're a weirdo. And it's amazing. It made me very happy when I saw it.
You know what made me very happy?
What?
Our 8th thing. Your Face, My Tomato, the limited run cassette from State Champion Records, which had a stand-up set by Connor and Gethard and Martin Urbano and Lorelai Ramirez. So it turned out to be a like real CGP preview. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting hearing Connor do stand-up, because that's not something I'm used to hearing from him. His set had a lot about like mortality and aging. Yeah,
but it was also a lot of like word jokes.
A lot of word jokes. Yes.
Yeah, about age and stuff. It was really fun.
It was a really funny
Definitely
set.
Check it out.
Yeah, you can get it on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And we'll have the link in our show notes, but definitely check it out. It's really cool to see him do that.
Yeah.
Our 9th thing is the Spirit of Ratliff album, which I have on vinyl. It's a holiday album, as mentioned in his bio, recorded by Mikey Erg and Connor, and it was also released by State Champion Records. And Connor drew the art on the cover, which is very pretty and very cool. And I just love this album so much. The songs are all Christmas themed or anti-summer anthems, which ties into a point he's made in a few places about how pop songs are like only talk about love and dancing and like partying. And he's like, why aren't there other topics? And so I love that he turned that into art all his own through this album. Like the 4th of July Resurgence is like a song about American history and how we have to like own all the parts of it, which is really fun.
Have yourself a merry secular Christmas.
Yes, which was also in the special. which is about how he's an agnostic and he loves secular Christmas, which is something I also fully agree with and I'm all about. And then The Lotion, about how summer makes you die. And that's why you have to wear sunscreen. Because the winter doesn't kill you with sun rays. It's the summer that does that. You don't need the lotion in the winter.
Yes, you do.
Public service announcement. You do need the lotion in the winter. But I love the song.
Then, of course, there's 10, The Spirit of Ratliff Holiday Special, created with Keith and Rob as part of the Spirit of series. It's Connor wandering around the streets of New York talking about Christmas. There's Endless Winter, Christmas is the Best, 40 Years of Christmas. And it's pretty cute.
One thing I loved about it is the scene where Connor starts calling out all these elements that Keith should composite in. And then Keith composites none of them in.
Oh, this is like on Keith's episode of Fetch.
Yeah, this
of
like
CGP.
This is why on Fetch, Connor was like, "You're just not going to composite in anything, are you?"
Because
like,
he
didn't last time. Like, and I had forgotten that when we watched Fetch, and it like boosts this one so much by having it, knowing that payoff comes.
Years later,
yeah,
there's a payoff. There's a part where he wears a dog harness with a GoPro attached, and it covers his mouth. So he's like walking around in this creepy ass like Bane style mask that has a GoPro on it, like wishing people Merry Christmas.
And then there's that guy who gets mad at him for
Yeah.
filming him and starts like filming back and like doing aggressive dancing at him.
Aggressive dancing. That is what it was. It was just aggressive dancing.
And this has one of the music videos features Pizza singing about how no one wants pizza on Christmas. And it's a pizza puppet. And that video was co-directed by Mael.
Oh, I'm sure made the puppet.
I'm sure, yeah.
Number 11, Dollar Store Therapist, a Comedy Central web series where Connor plays a really bad therapist at a dollar store.
One of my favorite episodes of Dollar Store Therapist is the one with Gethard,
Woo!
who is very aggressive towards the dollar store therapist and is correct at identifying that Connor's character doesn't know what he's talking about.
And then they have a physical fight.
They have a fight. They have a sword fight with like wrapping paper tubes, and it's great.
He talks to Jessica Curson about her inability to masturbate, and he uses role play to help her out with that.
And that's where you got that clip from.
About fighting with your vagina.
Yeah, because she embodies her vagina as various characters. Mm-hmm. And then Arturo from Alternatino is afraid of sharks. And Connor's character makes fun of him because that's a really reasonable fear. Why are you at a therapist for being afraid of sharks?
Yeah. He's really great at deadpanning. It's another one of his, like, he really embodies his characters.
Yeah.
Because he has sympathy for them.
Exactly. And I think that is, like, a key reason he can sell all these weird characters so well. Mm-hmm. And speaking of characters he sells well, number 12 is I'm Too Fragile for This, which is an improvised web series Connor co-created and co-stars in with Catherine Moudon, who played Elaine in Noah Foreman and Drew Johnston's improvised Seinfeld. And the first episode was released in 2011. In 2012, USA Today called the show Always Awkward and Hilarious, which I think perfectly sums it up, frankly. Yep. It's improvised conversations between Catherine and Connor about various various topics. Sometimes they have guest stars like Will Hines and Neil Casey. But much like Seinfeld, the topics are often about like social niceties or sort of those like mundane occurrences, which they like mine so much humor out of. Mm-hmm. And Alyssa of Checking In with Alyssa and Three Busy Debras was a creative consultant.
They checked in with her.
They sure did. And Tom Levin, who came up a lot on the Josh Sharp episode.
Because he's part of Also.
Yes.
Which made a lot of videos as
that was
part
the
of
UCB.
UCB.
Yeah. He directed, edited, and filmed episodes of this. One of the ones that I loved was Happy, which is Catherine's character talking to Connor's character about how his character is just so good at being happy.
He really is.
Because he is.
But he just is as a human.
Yeah. But it's just that makes it all the better knowing, having seen Connor in all these different things where he is just happy and other people like sincerely compliment him on it. Seeing it brought into the web series was really cool.
Yeah. Number 13, the Lone Cornmeal Machine, a staple of the first 13 episodes of TCGS, my favorite parts. It's a really cool project.
Yeah.
Maëlle Delavu did all of the animation and filming and would just hand all of this footage off to Connor, who would edit and narrate it, who would turn it into like a narrative thing.
And the first one, which has become a recurring staple of our podcast, was inspired by a fan of the stage show, of the Gethard show stage show, being concerned that he had a testicular torsion. So Connor and Maëlle did a claymation video about testicular torsion that just ends with a video of a testicle surgery.
Yep, it torsioned.
It sure did torsion.
Don't get your frenulum in a twist.
Oh, God.
Just don't get it in a twist.
No. And after those first 13 episodes, they had to stop because Maëlle went back to school and just didn't have time to do something that took up her whole week. But they revived it for the final public access episode of the Gethard show with one all about farewells. That's really sweet.
It is. It was a really cool project.
Yeah. I would love if it comes back at some point. Or if they, because they're so cool. It's just so good.
It's really
so good. Number 14 is the Terry Withers Mysteries. Terry Withers is the world's greatest detective, and if you go to the show, you could watch him solve an improvised murder mystery before your very eyes. The moment he walks on stage is the first time he has seen the crime scene created by the audience.
Including objects
Yes.
from the audience. They provide the clues, just from their pockets and shit.
Yeah, and it's created by Connor and JD, who walk out, get some audience members up to play dead bodies, get their objects, and place them based on the audience's suggestions.
JD is really good.
I didn't expect him to be that high energy.
Right? I'm just because we don't see him perform
Not
on
much.
this end of things. We're like, oh, he's the director. He
Yeah.
does the director things. But nah, bitch can perform.
Yeah, he's on a couple TCGS episodes as a performer. There's one where he takes over the show
Oh, yeah.
and forms JD's Armada.
I remember that.
But the cast of the Terry Withers Mysteries was Connor, JD, and then Sebastian Canelli, who will be on Talk-A-Doodle-Doo, Noah Foreman. I don't know if he was portrayed by Duke Ponzetti at this point. Alex Song, who was in Dollar Store Therapist with Connor, as well as Hammer Cats and The Week Of with Rachel Pegram. Molly Lloyd and Terry Withers, who, fun fact, taught Connor's Improv 101 class.
Aw.
And then the performance that is on Vimeo, which is the series finale. There's multiple, but the one we watched was the series finale. Louis Vega, Alexandra Dixon, Matt Fisher, and special guest stars John Lutz and Sue Galloway were all in it as well. And it's very fun. It's a very fun show. As we mentioned, the intro part where they're making the crime scene is super high energy.
Yeah, because they have to get the audience super involved,
Yeah.
which is why I felt and this could just be me in the shows that I've been to, I'm just I don't feel like it would work in San Francisco because people don't get as excited as they did in this show. I feel like part of it, though, is that the schools are bigger out there.
Uh-huh.
And probably they're doing it at a location where it's people who are in UCB or in college and really excited about being there.
Yeah, because this was at UCB Chelsea.
This isn't some stupid, stand-up show happening in a bar.
No.
In the middle of the FIDI. And, half the people there, didn't check the calendars and don't know that a stand-up show is happening.
Because they were honestly, of the improv things, even we've seen it, it reminded me much more of the improv shows we've gone to than any of the other kinds of comedy shows.
Yeah.
But especially, the jams.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very, very
That's
supportive crowd.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that improv energy that is great. And I think it might be able to happen here. I don't know.
Probably. I think I get down on San Francisco more than is fair.
I've been down on it on this podcast before, so it's only fair that now it's your turn to be down on it.
It's just I don't like staying up late So keeping up with New York is so much easier because it's 2 hours earlier and I do it from my couch.
It's also not live except for CGP.
That's true.
But it's a very cool show, and like it's like a pitch perfect. Sorry for those pops. It's a pitch perfect. Oh boy,
Just pop again. It's a pitch perfect parody
of cop shows.
Like Columbo.
There's even a title sequence and everything that lists the
Oh,
cast. Like Terry Withers really does a great job of embodying that like hard-boiled detective character, and Noah Foreman as like the partner he clashes with. So definitely check it out, especially if you like cop shows and procedurals.
And last, but definitely not least, and definitely not the actual last, like, this man, he's 45 years old. He's older than a lot of the people that we have been profiling.
I think he's like 43, but yeah.
He has done so many things.
Yeah. No, there's so much more we could choose. There's things I straight up love that I wasn't able to include because we have this like 15 thing limit.
Yeah.
Like without looking anything up, I was just like, cool.
These are my things.
We're good.
He's done so many things. He has shared so many interesting thoughts about performance, about comedy, about art.
Yeah, like this doesn't even include his podcast appearances, which are also all so good.
I listened to him on Mission to Zix today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he's really good. He plays an individual who is on a pleasure planet.
Oh.
And he just wants to pleasure people. And he, he goes in between like his voice and then like this cool modulated version of his voice when he's like in the alien form. He's, as you would expect, he's wonderful.
It's also just been, maybe we should have said this at the top of the show to maximize chance.
That's also not the only
it,
time.
But like, it's been really like, I don't know, it's been great getting to sort of go through hearing his like life story and stuff. Cause I knew about him as a performer, but I didn't know sort of how he got to performing. Mm-hmm. And it's been really nice. Like, hearing him explain his sort of path to improv and everything, and it helped me work through some sort of creative issues I was having. So like, it's been really good.
I agree. I think that it's done the same for me, sort of listening to someone over the length of their career who has done so many different stuff. Like he was a traditionally trained actor or whatever in London.
Liverpool.
That was not an accent. Whatever. And then he was like in New York, and he was in all over the place, and just thinking thoughts and being smart and thinking deeply about things, and it was all very interesting.
And so some of our favorite bits from his time as warm-up comic and correspondent for TCGS,
which is our 15th thing.
Which was our 15th thing, is the fake beard that he got, which you heard in the intro, where he had to shave it off for another job and had makeup painted a beard on him, which looked convincing until they zoomed in, and then it was just very clearly painted on, and Gethard
called him out.
They called him out and made them stay zoomed in.
He does a great like reporter bit though,
which makes sense.
So like just to like intone some of it, because I didn't feel like coming up with
and his dad was a weatherman.
That's true.
So it's sort of like that local news patter is in his blood.
As is improv.
Yes. And then I loved a vegetable a day keeps the doctor away, where he reveals that he drinks vegetables in a hot smoothie.
Because he cannot deal with the taste of vegetables.
No.
He can't deal with it. There was a whole bit where it was with somebody.
Tony Hale.
Buster from Arrested Development.
Yes, where he had to eat a vegetable to ask Tony Hale a question.
And Tony Hale was like one of his like comedic
icons.
Heroes. Like he was on Television Without Pity's message boards talking about Arrested Development. And we learn in the interview that the cast of Arrested Development knows who he is from his screen name.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I also loved when he got to be Colonel Sanders on the Chris Gethard show.
And he almost got to be Colonel Sanders.
He did. And he's just so good at all of these like random bits that he does on the Gethard show. It's even like, again, and we got to see him do warm up because we were watching it live streamed on Facebook back when they did it that way. He was a really good warm-up comic too.
Yeah. I was surprised at, I should not have been surprised at it, but I was delighted. I was delighted with how hilarious he was and how well he did the warm-up thing. Being a warm-up comic is difficult.
When he talked
Hosting
about
is hard.
how he had like an idea where he was going to like memorize whatever song was #1 that week and sing it with the LLC. And I like the commitment to warm up stuff. He didn't like he never does it halfway.
No.
He's always like, I'm going to do as good a job as I can possibly do with this thing.
That's the kind of empowerment you get when your parents are proud of you.
It's true.
And on that extremely depressing note, that just points at a different life for me. No. My mom's proud of me. I promise. She's a very nice lady. That's Connor Ratliff.
He's wonderful.
He's wonderful. He's so great. I'm really excited for him to do more of these so that we can talk more about him.
Yeah, me too. I hope he comes back. I hope Talk-A-Doodle-Doo isn't the last we see of him on CGP.
Yeah, so we're really excited for Talk-A-Doodle-Doo, which is, of course, inspired by Hee Haw.
Yes, Hee Haw.
Which is a show?
It was like a comedy variety show from the 60s that ran until like 92 that was like country-themed comedy. Where like one of the recurring bits was people would be in a cornfield, two people would pop up, do wordplay, it would zoom out on everyone in the cornfield, they'd say hee haw, and then it would zoom in on another people, they'd do wordplay, and the original people are now ducked beneath the cornfield.
That's hilarious.
And then it was
That's so Monty Python.
And it was interesting because it and Laugh-In aired at the same time.
What's Laugh-In?
Laugh-In is another sketch comedy variety show. Like Lily Tomlin got her start on it. Here Comes the Judge was one of the bits. Sock It to Me. It's where they like Nixon went on the air and went, "Sock it to me."
I've heard The Simpsons do that.
It's but it was interesting because like they both had very similar formats where they blended music and comedy and like sketches, and they were out of the same time period, but they were like, and Connor said this on the Discord, it was like city versus country.
You know what I want to talk to Connor about?
What?
I want to talk to Connor about cartoons as the recorders and keepers of culture.
That'd be really interesting. Yeah. He'd have a lot of interesting things to say about that,
yeah.
I think.
This is like a pet theory. It's not really a pet theory. I'm sure that other people think this.
Yeah.
But you know how like The Simpsons, how kids' cartoons basically just take stories from like Shakespeare and shit and do them with Bugs Bunny and do them in the freaking Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans Go is making 1.5 million references to things that were way before I was even born that I don't even get. And then you're like, they're doing this thing. Or I see things from history all the time, like the history of TV and performance and culture. And I'm like, I feel like I've seen that before, but I've seen like cartoons do it.
Yeah, like I learned who Peter Lorre is based on Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Because like they had all this celebrity cameos, quote unquote, that were for the parents to be like, oh, that's Edward G. Robinson as the gangster character.
Like, who the hell is that? I don't know, but if you did his character, I would know.
Yeah, he's like that voice. That
guy.
voice, that gangster, like Chief Wiggum on The Simpsons, is a parody of his persona in like film noir stuff.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's all of these things. Okay, so that's what I would want to...
Double Indemnity.
So that's my question for Connor and the things that he would be interested in preserving. But
we have one more question.
What do you expect?
Yes.
What do you expect to see, Forrest?
I expect to see a talking rooster.
Okay.
I'm wondering if part of why I brought up the cornfield thing is I'm wondering if we're going to see a reference to it. Because it's like the iconic...
Like with Too Many Lattice, but it's just a bunch of corn stalks?
Yeah, or just like people ducking out of view to tell a joke and then popping back out. Because it's like, that is probably the most iconic part of Hee Haw. Like The Simpsons definitely made jokes about it. So I think if there's going to be any sort of like textual reference to the text of Hee Haw, it's going to be that. What do you think?
Dicks.
It'll certainly be cocks.
No, I think human genitalia.
Oh, okay.
The penis variety of human genitalia.
Not roosters.
Not roosters. Perhaps roosters with the human genitalia.
What if it's like a rooster where like the plumage, the little red thing on top of the head?
It's all penises?
It's all penises. Would that count?
That would count.
Okay.
That would count, and I would not put it past him, especially if my owl helped. him out. He has a love of puppets, and he has a love of cartoons and
Well,
cartooning.
and his cousin worked on Rock-A-Doodle, the like singing rooster themed animated movie by Don Bluth.
Sure.
It's like an Elvis rooster.
Sure. See, cartoons preserving culture.
Yeah.
I bet you anything there's kids
And
who
it's
are
based
like,
on a play
who
from
the fuck's Elvis? You know who I know?
Well,
Who the
it's
fuck
also-
Elvis is?
It's also based on a play from 1910.
Fuck.
So you're right.
Fuck. History. I know who Elvis is. I know who all these fuckers are because of like Johnny Bravo and Cartoon Network and even Disney.
Yeah, no, 100%. I learned the Pulp Fiction Royale with Cheese bit from Cartoon Network bumpers that parodied it with Shaggy.
Oh my God. I fucking love Cartoon Network.
Anyway.
Oh, I want to ask him what his favorite contemporary cartoon is.
I mean, you can definitely reach out to him.
I know. I could just do this on
He's
the
very
Discord or on
accessible
Twitter.
and very friendly.
Of course, now I'm thinking of all the things that I want to ask him. Well, I'm going to file those things away and possibly get answers for myself, as well as see penises on his episode of CGP this Wednesday, October 16th, 8 p.m. West Coast, Best Coast.
It's like Western mustard.
Western mustard.
11 p.m. East Coast.
11 p.m. East Coast. If you're
Central,
in New
you're on
York,
your own.
get your ass there. Yeah, Central. I'm sorry. There's so much of you. I don't know.
You're also on your own.
There's just time is hard and relative and ultimately a human construction. Therefore, fuck that noise. Tune in to CGP. The only human construction that you need to worry about is comedy, and that comedy involves talking roosters.
Yes.
This Wednesday, every Wednesday on CGP. That was a WNYC joke that I learned from Howard Stern. WNYC.
Do you mean WNBC?
No, it's WNYC. Oh, it might be WNBC.
No, he was on WNBC.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I messed up.
WNBC.
WNBC.
Because WNYC is public media. It's like NPR, and there's no way Howard Stern was on
No.
NPR.
But Connor Ratliff probably was.
Well, he was, because a lot of NPR member stations air This American Life.
Connor Ratliff this Wednesday.
Oh, you're still recording?
Well, you're gonna have to have a surgery on your testicles. So, I'm gonna cut open your scrotum. How about that?